Next on Worcester News Tonight, a man barricaded himself inside a burning house. What police are saying about a now deadly standoff. Plus, the city is looking to make some changes in its nightclubs. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Anna Botari. Worcester is looking to crack down on local nightclubs. The city announced a proposal of recommendations to help customers and neighborhoods stay safe. Our Cam Jandro has more. Cam?
Anna, the city's Regulatory Services Division tells me there have been numerous violations at city nightclubs in the last year, and they're hoping this proposal helps make some changes.
An increase in violations at city nightclubs is keeping the License Commission busy, so they're looking to strengthen regulations for these businesses.
We have seen a bit of an uptick in violation hearings before the License Commission over the last year or so, and so we thought it was the right time to address this.
If approved by the License Commission, the proposal would force nightclubs to hire crowd managers for crowds larger than 99 people and establish new requirements for security personnel. Clubs would also have to notify police 2 weeks in advance for promoted events. Assistant Chief Development Officer Stephen Raleigh says there are two goals with the proposal.
One is to ensure the safety of patrons in the neighborhood, and the second is to make sure that we can encourage these types of businesses and make sure that they are thriving and surviving and doing well.
The city's proposal also requires nightclubs allowing patrons under 21 to submit a plan for how they will prevent underage drinking. District 2 is home to a handful of nightlife spots. City Councilor MERO-CARLSON says the proposal mainly focuses on the well-being of Worcester.
I think part of it all has to do with public safety, first and foremost. So we're just looking as a city to make sure that our businesses and our residents and our neighborhoods remain safe.
Worcester has more than 50 nightclubs. All of them would have to adopt the changes. Raleigh says it's important to take precautions.
Worcester has a great restaurant scene, and of course nightclubs are an important part of that, and we want to make sure that they continue to be and that we can create a safe environment that everyone can enjoy.
Now, there is a public hearing on Thursday for those looking to voice any concerns on this proposal before the License Commission decides to vote. Anna?
Thanks, Cam. Well, you may have noticed the words "Me Too" trending on social media today. The campaign is highlighting and empowering victims of sexual assault and abuse. Actress Alyssa Milano was one of the first to share the Me Too hashtag, writing, "If you've been sexually harassed or assaulted, write Me Too" as a reply to this tweet. Pathways for Change in Worcester is happy to see women and men standing up against sexual violence and hopes this campaign will bring a whole new light to the issue.
Hopefully, having celebrities getting behind all of this, that we can actually start helping people understand that this is an epidemic. This is not going away, and that I'm really hoping that survivors are getting to the point where coming forward and talking about their victimization is going to feel safer to do so.
As of today, millions have replied or shared the hashtag across different social media platforms. Pathways for Change says it starts with believing, which will hopefully lead to more support and resources for victims going forward. Well, Worcester police say large groups of teens on bikes are creating incredibly dangerous streets. After several complaints, they're now cracking down. Susan Tran has the story.
Kids popping wheelies, weaving through the streets. We got video of this taking place on side roads and in parking lots, but Worcester police say large groups of teens on bikes are creating incredibly dangerous streets.
Teenagers riding recklessly, popping wheelies in the middle of the street, riding 20 in a group, taking over streets on bicycles, and the latest thing they're doing is called swerving, where they intentionally drive right at a car and at the last minute in a game of chicken pull off to the side.
Worcester police say they've gotten so many complaints they're cracking down, arresting teens and confiscating bikes.
10, 15 at a time.
Some neighbors applaud the move, saying it's dangerous for not just the kids on wheels, but drivers as well.
There was times where the car would go around them and they'd start kicking the car as the car drove by.
While others think the police reaction is a bit extreme.
It seems to me that kids riding bikes around town, I mean, that's how everyone spends their childhood, right? And to end up with a GV record or, get started in the system that way seems totally ridiculous to me.
For police, they say they want the streets safe for everyone and for all to practice some common sense.
Realize that everything can change in an instant. If you get hit by a car, you can either die or be paralyzed the rest of your life. So this is serious. It's not the time to show off your friends, and you should be very careful.
A man is found dead after barricading himself inside a burning home. There was a massive police presence in the Leominster neighborhood. Our Rosalind Flaherty has more about what led up to the standoff.
A chaotic scene in Leominster Monday after police say a man barricaded himself inside this burning home. The man was later found dead.
We flooded the area with manpower immediately. That included the entire shift of the Leominster Police Department, including pulling officers off of details.
Leominster Police Chief Michael Goldman says it all started when police went to serve the suspect with a Section 35 warrant. He says the warrant was taken out by a family member.
Section 35 is done for alcohol abuse or drug abuse because the person has reached the point where they're not capable of caring for themselves.
State and local police and firefighters were outside the home. A negotiator was attempting to communicate with the suspect for more than 2 hours. Maria Richardson owns the house across the street. She says she quickly came over when she heard there was a fire and knows a woman who lives inside.
I'm shaking, yeah, I'm scared. It's crazy.
Chief Goldman says they found the man on the first floor and it's unclear if he was armed.
Somebody cared enough to take a Section 35 out and try and get him some help, and it didn't end well for him.
Rosalind Flaherty, Worcester News Tonight.
3 men in Oxford headed to court today after police say they attacked another man with a bat yesterday. Prosecutors in the case say the victim suffered a fractured skull and is still in the hospital. The suspects in the case deny the charges and say they were acting in self-defense. There's another court hearing scheduled for next month. A Clark University student is facing serious charges. Worcester police say he was involved in an armed home invasion. But outside the courtroom Monday, the young man's family says he's a good student who couldn't have done anything like this. Our Catherine Andrioli has the details.
No prior criminal history whatsoever.
A Clark University student faces a judge Monday. Police say 19-year-old Tobias Hom was involved in a home invasion on Clifton Street last week.
Nothing, Your Honor, indicating that anything was actually taken from the apartment. In fact, the complaining witness actually says that all of his property was actually left undisturbed.
Worcester police arrested Hom on a warrant Sunday. They say a resident told officers 3 men kicked down the door to the apartment on Clifton Street and held a knife to the victim's throat. A police press release states the victims knew Tobias Hom and they were classmates at Clark University.
One of the complaining witnesses, he did recognize him, he gave him his name, and did tell the police that he was involved in the incident.
The police report that underlies this alleged incident is strange, to say the least. Mr. Hom is identified as being present in the apartment by one individual, but the report also indicates that the individuals had hoodies that were up and around their faces. There's nothing in the police report indicating that Mr. Hom was the one who forced his way into the apartment.
Hom's family did not want to go on camera, but tells Worcester News Tonight, quote, "He is a sweet kid, never been in trouble. We 100% believe that he wasn't the perpetrator, that he was in a situation in which someone said his name wrong."
Based on that, we ask that you deny the Commonwealth's motion and that Mr. Hom be released pending these charges.
The other 2 suspects remain at large. Hom will have a dangerousness hearing Thursday in Worcester District Court. In Worcester, Catherine Andrioli, Worcester News Tonight.
In a surprise move, City Councilor at-large Michael Gaffney and his wife Corinne Gaffney announced they're no longer running for office this election season. In a press release Monday, the Gaffneys say they've decided to pursue another opportunity and no longer have the time needed to devote to City Council. They did not get into specifics about future plans. Their withdrawals play a major role in 2 races. Mr. Gaffney was seeking a 3rd term as an at-large councilor. He was one of 8 people running for the 6 seats. Meanwhile, Mrs. Gaffney was running against District 4 City Councilor Soraya Rivera. The town of Sutton is holding their fall town meeting tonight, and there's a hot-button issue on the agenda. Residents are voting tonight whether or not to continue the conversation about funding a new library. Our Brittany Schaefer was in Sutton today and has the details.
Really, the library is the biggest issue on the agenda. The proposed library would cost more than $11 million. A state grant would cover almost half.
33 communities applied. 9 were selected to be funded in the first round. We were one of those 9.
The town's current library is located below Town Hall. It's been here for 25 years.
It's about 2,000 square feet now. It makes us the actual smallest library in the state for our population group.
Jane Richardson has lived in Sutton for 7 years and visits the library often. She says a larger building would be good for the town.
I would think that we need in this beautiful town our own freestanding library with room for all the new ideas that are out there, rooms for the young people, for the children. It would just give everybody a lift of spirit.
Sutton voters approved funding for a new police station back in the spring. The town administrator says residents are funding several projects.
We have $3 million in debt exclusion debt. The police station on top of that, it would bring it to $3.8 million. The library on top of that, it would bring it to $4.4 million. So that's a significant increase in the tax base, which will affect current and future residents of town.
Stephen Farrell has a sign against funding the new library in his front yard. He's lived in the town for more than 2 decades and says a new library is something the town can't afford.
I don't want to see the tax increase, and I think if there were a tax increase, it could be spent in better areas. I don't think the library falls under the critical services that a town needs to provide.
Brittany Schaefer, Worcester.